Welcome to the Witchy Work Wishes podcast, a place to find your weekly inspiration for bringing your personal witchcraft practice into your business, work, and office. Welcome to Witchy Work Wishes. I'm your host, Charlene, and before you get the creepy, crawly shivers today, let me reassure you that this episode is full of good energy, great wisdom, and wonderful workings that we can pull and use when the spider spirit calls. So stay with me. I promise this is going to be a good and motivating episode for us. But first, some general housekeeping notes and things I did this past weekend in my own personal practice. I was actually able to catch up on some home projects that, they just got pushed aside with all of the baby activity in my house and all of the transition energy of May. With the kittens a little bit older and more self-sufficient, and the two new baby frizzled chickens settling into their playpen brooder, I was actually able to circle back to the mead project that I have been working on since the spring. I was able to do the bottling, which is like that, final stage of the mead making process. This is my first year making mead, and let me tell you, oh my gosh, it is in fact a process. But if you're witchy like me, oh my goodness, there are so many options to make the mead very specific for our needs. So mead, it is basically, it's honey wine, and it only has 3 ingredients: honey, water, and yeast. That's it, 3 ingredients. Now from there, you can add things, right? You can get a little witchy with what we're putting in and start playing around with the herbs or, the fruits, the spices, whatever it is, whatever energy it is that you want to add into the mixture. So you make your mead and then you let it go through, like a fermentation process, which is about like 4 weeks-ish. You can wait even longer, I found out. But I found out by accident because I got pulled with all the kitten and chicken stuff. I forgot about the mead. So my mead was actually sitting and resting for about 3 months before I bottled it, which apparently is okay. So yeah, then you bottle. Now I use wine bottles, corks and foil, and kind of like, make my own set. But from there you wait. Mead improves dramatically with age. A few months to a year can turn what they say is like a good mead into something that is super, super amazing. So I'm really curious to see how my first run actually works. So I think how many did I get? I think I got like 15 bottles. It's specifically for our mountain trip in August. So I'm very hopeful that all of the varietals that I made will be ready and aged enough for us to drink in August. I will let you guys know, though, for sure how they turned out when the trip is done. But that was my big project over the weekend that has really been lingering, just like waiting for me to finish up. Now with my Hecate sourdough starter, which you guys know is my love, 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 well, I expanded my baking horizon just a little bit and started playing around with bagels. And I gotta say, like right out of the gate, the first batch was pretty freaking awesome. But just like with bread, like you play around with the recipes until you find like your perfect concoction and your perfect routine. So anyways, I did a second batch last week and then a third batch this past weekend. And I'll tell you, I'm just loving it. Loving it. So I made some for my boys. I made some for my employees. I'm just having lots and lots of fun with it. But if you are actually toying with making your own bread at home, I really encourage you to at least test it out. Give it a couple tries. I certainly did not find my perfect gait and rhythm right away. It took a little bit, but homemade sourdough bread, like especially from your own starter, oh my goodness, like it's got so many benefits, both practical and magical. Homemade sourdough from like your own starter gives you healthier bread, more nutrients, better flavor, certainly a deeper connection to both the craft of baking and the magic of natural fermentation. It really is nourishment for body, mind, and spirit. And I can't say enough good things about adding it to your kitchen witchcraft if you are actually thinking about it. Let's see. Before we jump into today's episode, though, I decided to write just a tiny little quick story that walks us right into today's topic. And it is about Maggie and Izzy's first day in their new hen house. It is just for us here at Wishy Work Wishes. And if you did not see the post on Patreon, the girls have names. So I worked with my mom in looking through our extensive family genealogy documentation, and we went back to our Scotland and Ireland families and settled on Isabel MacDonald, who I will be calling Izzy for short, which is the fluffy frizzled white one, and Margaret McCarter, which I'll be calling Maggie for short, for the frizzled gray one. And just like that, the girls have names, so I love it. They are adjusting so well, and their fluffy, frizzled feathers are coming in just perfectly. So they're getting lots of treats, lots of love, and lots of energy from me. So let me read this story, and then we are going to jump into today's episode. And the story is called Maggie and Izzy's First Day Out. The sun was gentle that afternoon, casting a honeyed light over the hearth and hen homestead. The air shimmered with that early summer warmth, not too heavy, not yet loud with the hum of deep heat, but just right for new beginnings. Izzy and Maggie, the two young frizzled satin chickens, stood at the threshold of the hen house. Their feathers, still a bit tousled from the last growth spurt, shimmered like spun silk, catching little glints of sunlight. They had grown strong in their brooder, but today was different. Today the hen house, their hearth and hen house, awaited them. With tentative steps, Izzy was the first to hop down into the golden straw. She fluffled her wild curly feathers and gave a curious chirp. Maggie followed, bold and steady, her little feet pressing into the earth as if claiming it for the very first time. As they explored, scratching gently and testing their wings, they stumbled upon something extraordinary. In the far corner of the hen house, just beneath the rafters, where the light dappled in soft beams, hung a delicate spider's web, a masterpiece of silver thread woven fine as whisper and strong as spellwork. At the center sat a spider, ancient in her knowing, but small enough to be easily missed by eyes too hurried. But Maggie and Izzy, still fresh to the world themselves, saw her. Maggie tilted her head, watching the spider with wonder, while Izzy gave a soft cluck, a sound of greeting rather than alarm. The spider, sensing no threat, remained still, regal in her patience. In that moment, an invisible exchange took place. The spider spirit, keeper of the web of life, welcomed the two young hens into her domain. She offered them the silent teachings of her craft, how to weave patience into every moment, how to anchor themselves with intention, and how to trust the delicate balance between stillness and movement. Maggie and Izzy, in their innocent curiosity, accepted this offering without question, the way only creatures still close to the old magic can. The spider's web seemed to shimmer brighter, as if recognizing their bond. For the rest of the afternoon, the two little hens explored with growing confidence, the warmth of the sun on their backs and the spider's quiet blessing settling around them like a cloak. They pecked and scratched and basked, their spirits beginning to root into the land that would become their home. And high above, the spider spirit watched, a silent guardian in the rafters, spinning a web that would hold their first brave steps forever in its memory. The end. Okay, well, while in this story, Izzy and Maggie are not afraid of the hearth and hen spider, most of us probably would be, right? In fact, did you know that statistically, the American Psychiatric Association says about 3 to 6% of the global population is estimated to have arachnophobia. That is a clinically diagnosed significant fear of spiders. Now, if we broaden it beyond clinical phobias, like to include general fear or discomfort, the numbers get much, much higher. And my guess is it will include a bunch of us because who is it? I think like Scientific America, National Geographic, they both have published numbers like 30 to 50% of people report feeling uneasy or fearful around spiders, even if they don't have like a full-blown phobia, like that real diagnosed case, right? 30 to 50% of us. But you know what today? Today we are going to take a deep breath and we are going to ease a bit of that discomfort. Today we are going to tap into our ability to see the energy of everything around us. And for the spider spirit, well, you know what? She walks us to the edge of an ancient web, one that is woven with care and instinct and infinite design. We are going to step into the sacred strands of the spider, a weaver, a watcher, a wise one who sits patiently at the center of her creation, waiting for just the right moment to move. Today, we are inviting the spider spirit into our sacred space, not as something to fear, but as an ally, a teacher, and a guide. The spider spirit has long been a creature of both awe and mystery, spun into lots of myths, right? Lots of stories across just about every culture. And with all of those stories, with all of that history, with all of those myths, the spider's web holds more than silk. It holds stories, fates, power, and potential. So whether you are a dream weaver, a writer, a spell crafter, or simply someone who feels a strange pull when you see a spider in the corner of a room, well, this episode is for you. Let's explore what it means to be a weaver of fate. Let's sit beside Spider and listen. Let's honor the creativity, the courage, and the chaos that she invites us to dance with. Grab your tea, grab your coffee, grab something magical to sip on, and let's talk about the spider spirit. Spiritually, Spider teaches us what it means to create with intention. She shows us how to balance instinct with design, patience with purpose. Her 8 legs touch the strands of her world-like fingers over harpstrings, feeling vibrations, listening to what's moving, what's alive, what is ready to be consumed or released. She is the matriarch of manifestation, the mistress of the in-between. Her web is both her home and her trap, her safety and her snare. And isn't that true of so many things we create? Like our work, our relationships, our habits, even our dreams. They are webs too. Intricate and sticky and beautiful and binding. Spider calls us to examine these spaces and ask, what am I weaving and why? So today we are exploring the spider spirit as an ally. We'll talk about the magic and mythology wrapped in her 8-legged form. We'll look at the sacred geometry of her web, the symbolism of her patience, and the feminine wisdom embedded in every silken thread. We'll also talk about the shadow because, Spider is not afraid of the dark. She knows the power of the unseen, the mysteries that grow in silence. Let's talk about the heebie-jeebies first, though, right? Let's just get it out of the way. Why are so many people afraid of spiders? Well, if you are in fact one of them, you are in good company. It truly is one of the most common fears in the world. So much so it has its own name, arachnophobia. So even people who consider themselves brave or grounded can recoil at the sight of a spider. But why? Well, the fear of spiders is actually ancient and complex, woven both from biology and symbolism. First one is just our evolutionary wiring. From a biological perspective, our ancestors may have learned to instinctively avoid spiders because, some of them were venomous. Even though the vast majority of spiders are harmless to humans, our brains, gosh, I feel like they're just like hardwired to associate their quick, erratic movements and many-legged appearance with potential danger. It's a survival reflex, primal and deeply rooted. We also have some cultural conditioning as well, though, right? Our fear has been reinforced over time by stories and media and myth. Spiders are often depicted as creepy and dangerous or even evil, right? Lurking in the dark corners, hiding in shoes, or biting unsuspecting sleepers. Horror films and folklore have added layers and layers of fear and revulsion, amplifying the response through repetition and dramatization. We also have the feminine, the mysterious, though, with spiders. Here's a witchier take on it. Spider holds some archetypal feminine power, right? Mysterious, cyclical, creative, patient, and self-contained. For centuries, I think society has feared feminine power in its raw, wild form. Spider spins from her own body, creates beauty and trap in one breath, and waits without chasing. She embodies a kind of power that, it just doesn't follow linear logic, really, right? And that, too, can provoke discomfort in a world that often prefers tidy definitions and visible action. With spider spirit, we also have some very strong symbolic projection. On a psychological level, fear of spiders can reflect something deeper. Carl Jung talks about how, spiders often represent the shadow, the parts of ourselves that we suppress or fear. Their webs, they're intricate and hidden. They can echo the inner workings of the psyche. So to see a spider is sometimes to be reminded of what we can't control, what we can't predict, or what we've been pushing into the subconscious. And that can be deeply unsettling. So you may hear of Carl Jung's findings called Jungian terms, I think. Really, that refers to ideas and concepts that have been developed by him. Who's Carl Jung? Well, he was a Swiss psychiatrist and psychoanalyst who founded analytical psychology. His work dives deeply into the human psyche, symbolism, dreams, mythology, and the spiritual side of human experience. Now, Jung believed that our unconscious minds are full of archetypes, universal symbols, and patterns that, show up in myths, dreams, and even our fears. Now, in Jungian psychology, a spider could be a symbol of the shadow. Again, that shadow is everything that we repress or hide from ourselves. Our fears, our doubts, our wounds, our impulses. So he said seeing a spider might trigger anxiety because it represents those hidden or creepy parts of the self that we haven't faced yet. He said it could be a symbol of, the great mother, the weaver archetype. The spider could also be seen as a archetype of the creative feminine, right? Especially the mother as the weaver of life and fate. This connects to ancient myths and images of goddesses who spin threads or control destinies, right? A spider could also be a symbol of the web as like our unconscious mind. So Jung saw the unconscious like a deep sea full of symbols. A spider's web, it's mysterious, it's hidden, and it's intricately connected, can represent the inner workings of the psyche, where, patterns and stories are constantly being woven. So if you ever hear someone say something is Jungian, we are being invited to look, beyond the surface of a fear or an image, just to ask, like, hey, what does this symbolize? What is it revealing about my inner world? For us today, if you yourself do in fact have a deep fear of spiders, I don't know, you can explore it, right? Not just as a reaction, but as an invitation to look deeper. Now, for this episode, though, I am going to try to unravel some of those fears. We are going to sit with the spider, not stomp her out, because in shadow, there's wisdom. And behind every web, there is an artist. So if you've ever flinched at the sight of a spider, please know that you are not alone. But also know this fear can be a teacher. And today we are here to learn and embrace the lessons of the spider spirit. Now, across time and cultures, the spider has quietly crept through the myths, stories, and the spiritual practices of people all around the world. Never just an insect to be brushed away, though, right? She's always been something more. An ancient symbol, a divine creature, a sacred architect of the invisible threads that bind reality together. So let's jump into some of the stories that she has spun through myth, magic, and meaning. From the high temples of Greece to the hearth fires of West Africa, the spider spirit has made herself known as a storyteller, a bit of a challenger, a creator for sure, with a little bit of caution. Now, in Greek mythology, there was a mortal woman who they called Arachne. She was so skilled at weaving that she challenged the goddess Athena herself. Her tapestries rivaled like the divine, and in her defiance, she was transformed into a spider, forever destined to weave. Arachne teaches us that, creativity is power, and that to claim our artistry is both a gift and a danger in the eyes of the gods. Anansi is a beloved trickster of West African and Caribbean folklore. She is a spider spirit who brings wisdom and mischief and stories to the world. Anansi reminds us that knowledge often comes from cleverness, laughter, and unexpected pathways, and that storytelling itself is, in fact, sacred magic. The Native Americans also have a spider in their folklore. It's a grandmother spider spirit. I believe this is especially known in the Hopi and Navajo traditions. But she was a revered creator figure who spun the world into existence, basically. She wove the sun and the moon into the sky and gifted humans with fire, weaving, and language. She is an ancient matriarch, patient and powerful, holding the web of life and wisdom and care for them. Each of these myths are little examples, but they offer very different threads for us to get lessons with. All are tied to the spider's ability, though, to shape reality through creativity, communication, and a strong feminine force. Now, spider and witchcraft and our magical traditions, well, not so much feared, but really honored, right? She is often associated with the sacred feminine, right? Her ability to create from within. The spider really is a symbol of womb magic. It's gestation of the creative cycles of life. Her body spins the web. She doesn't need any tools. There's no external forces, right? Her power is, in fact, self-contained. It's intuitive, and it is profoundly feminine. She is known in our practices as more like a spinner of fate, right? Kind of like the Greek and the Norse who say she wove the, threads of life and death. The spider is seen really as a living embodiment of destiny. Her web is not random. It's deliberate. It's intricate, and it is definitely alive. So to see a spider in your path, maybe a message. There is something being woven for you, or maybe it's time to take a hold of your own thread. And in our practices, I think she's definitely a symbol of divine creativity. Artists, writers, witches, spellcrafters, they all find kinship in the spider spirit. Like, she is the sacred architect, creating beauty, structure, and magic from a place of stillness and instinct. Her energy supports ritual crafting, intentional weaving, and really all practices that turn thought into form. A spider is, I think, a living metaphor for interconnection. Perhaps the most magical thing about spider really is her web. More than a home, it's more than a trap. It really is like a web, like a map of how everything connects. So in spiritual terms, the web is, more like a symbol of the universe, interlinked. It's sensitive, and it's vibrating with every moment. Now, in witchcraft, we understand that what we do in one corner of the web ripples across the whole web itself, right? Our intentions, our spells, our energy, all of it, all of that sends threads out into the unseen. So the web teaches us that we are never alone, that everything is connected, and that we must be mindful of what we weave. To work with spider, I think, is to become aware of your own web, like what you're building, who you're linked to, and what you're catching, and also what you need to clear away. Spider reminds us that creation is not passive, it's sacred design. Every choice we make is a stitch. Every intention is a thread. So whether you are crafting a spell, maybe you're writing a book, or you're shaping your life, I think the spider invites you to do it with care, with magic, and with full knowledge that you are co-weaving your destiny. Now, when spider begins to appear in your life, what does it mean? What does it mean when it shows up for you? And if you are a part of our Patreon family, you already know why we are talking about this right now. But what does it mean? What does it mean when the spider comes to us in a dream, as a symbol, or maybe just a physical presence? Well, I think it means that something sacred is being spun beneath the surface. Spider is more than just a totem or a sign. Like she's like a spirit teacher, a mirror of your creative power, and a guide through the quiet threads of destiny. She teaches through stillness, she reveals through silence, and she weaves what others cannot see. So I say for today, keywords for the spider spirit are going to be creativity, patience, feminine energy, shadow work, destiny, and manifestation. So the spider energy really is ancient and intentional, right? She holds within her wisdom of creativity. Let's start with that one first. The spider crafts her web from her own body. Like she is a living artist, creating beauty and structure and survival from within. So when she walks beside you as a spirit guide, I think she asks like, hey, what are you creating from the threads of your own being? If we talk about patience, the spider teaches the rhythm of divine timing. Like she does not chase. She waits. She trusts that her web will bring exactly what she needs. This could be a call to, maybe slow down, to act with precision and trust, and to understand that real magic is not rushed. Big key word is feminine energy with the spider spirit. She really embodies the sacred feminine, the mystery, the cycles, being receptive, right? Intuition and the power of gestation. She weaves her world quietly, confidently, and without apology. So she asks us, or can ask us, to, remember that softness is not weakness, and that creation is a force. Now, if we're talking about shadow work, I believe spider is a, creature of the corners and crevices. She lives where others won't even look. As a spirit guide, and her showing up in your world right now, maybe she's encouraging us to, enter the shadows, right? To face what we've buried, to reclaim the parts of ourselves we've tried to trap. Her medicine is not always gentle, but it is, in fact, healing. And if we talk about destiny as a key word for her, I think every web is a map, right? Every thread is a choice. So the spider showing up for us can remind us that our lives are not random. We are little co-weavers of fate. She empowers us to make new patterns, to cut threads that no longer serve, and to spin a destiny of our own design. And then for manifestation, if spider is showing up for you, she really does create what she needs, right? Her shelter, her food, her survival through sacred design. Her webs are spells that are cast with instinct and vision. We can channel her energy when we need to learn that, manifestation is not just wishing. It's weaving strand by strand. All right, let's also talk about the power of numerology and what's going on with the 8 legs. What does that mean? Well, spider walks the world with 8 legs. And that number 8 is an embodiment of balance, direction, and the cycles of life. In numerology, 8 is the number of infinity, karma, and cosmic law. It speaks of power, flow, and the eternal return. Spider's body is shaped like a double spiral, right? One leg in the physical world and one leg in the spiritual world. So she reminds us that what we do ripples outward. What we create returns. Her 8 legs also can echo the 8 Sabbaths of the Wheel of the Year, inviting us to walk with intention through each seasonal gateway, weaving magic into every turn. Now we also have the spider spirit as kind of like a web weaving intentional manifester. That every web is in fact a spell for us. Spider does not weave randomly. She knows where to anchor. She knows how to spiral, when to repair, and when to abandon what no longer catches what she needs. As witches, I think we can mirror this by asking, hey, where am I anchoring my energy? What am I calling into my life? And what patterns am I repeating without meaning to? To work with spiders to become a conscious weaver, right? Of your words, of your rituals, of your energy. Webs don't appear overnight. They are spun strand by strand, decision by decision, intention by intention. So when spider is near, it could be a call to manifest mindfully. Like, don't rush the web. Trust the design. Now, if you would like to work with the spider spirit, I would focus on like those liminal times, right? New moons, eclipses, dark moons, the power of the in-between. The spider energy thrives in those liminal spaces, right? In between the beams, behind the curtains, at the corners of our vision. And as a spirit ally, I think she's going to do a lot of work and be the most powerful during like more liminal times. I think of it like a dark moon, for example, right? The dark womb of the moon is one of the spider's sacred hours. A time for weaving intentions into the quiet, unseen spaces of the soul. Eclipses would be a good time. These cosmic shadow dances are the spider energy's magic at its most intense, right? Revealing hidden truths, reweaving karmic patterns, and cutting the cords that keep us stuck. Twilight would be another good one, right? Samhain would be good. Crossroads, doorways would be good. Any time or space that is like neither here nor there. That's going to be the spider's domain. It's where she invites us to kind of drop into the void and find the next strand. When we honor these more liminal moments, I think we enter spider's temple. We learn to feel these subtle vibrations, to kind of become more sensitive to the magic moving around us and honestly through us. To walk with a spider is going to be to reclaim your role as a creator, a shadow dancer, a fate weaver. She doesn't maybe offer easy answers, but I do think she gives us like the threads. The rest is going to be up to us to do. All right, so what does it mean? What does it mean when the spider shows up? Let's talk about the signs, our dreams, and her messages. First is going to be kind of reading the web between the worlds. The spider doesn't shout, right? She whispers. She appears softly, maybe as a little glint in the corner of your vision, a sudden thread across your path, or maybe a dream visitor kind of hanging in the center of her web, waiting. She is the subtle magic, the quiet power. And I think when she shows up in our lives, we just got to pause, right? Listen, the spider energy doesn't arrive by accident. In the world of witchcraft and our spirit work, we know that repeated symbols carry messages, right? And the spider, more than most, is a spirit who just arrives when we just need to shift, to create, or to unravel. And again, if you know, we are working on this very concept right now over with our Patreon family for the month of June. I actually drew the Tarantula Spirit card from one of Kim Cron's decks, and honestly, let me get it, you guys, I needed this episode to help me work with it. I don't kill spiders, but that initial that initial shiver, that initial feeling of being scared, it still resides in me. And you guys know me by now, right? If I need this episode, maybe you do too. So what does it mean? What does it mean when the spider shows up for us? Well, there can be different interpretations. When a spider enters your awareness, pay close attention to how she shows up. If it is like a real spider crossing your path, it may be more than just like a little creepy crawly moment, especially if it's out of season, like or if it's in maybe it's in a strange place, or if it appears more than once. It's likely an invitation to notice your thoughts and your intentions. Like, what are you weaving with your daily energy? If the spider shows up in a dream, right? This can be deeply significant. Are you tangled in a web? Are you watching a spider spin? Are you being bitten in your dream? Each variation carries, of course, different messages, right? But the dream of a spider often is going to reflect our creative process, our relationship with control maybe, or, those parts of ourselves that we've kept hidden. And then if spider is showing up in some type of like symbolic repetition, like you are seeing images of spiders, you are hearing spider stories, you're noticing webs in books, jewelry, or media. This can be like a little spiritual ping from the universe. When symbols repeat, I think for our practices, it's really known to be like the spirit world drawing your attention. So spider might be asking, hey, what is being woven beneath your awareness? Or, hey, are you choosing your patterns or are you following someone else's thread? So if spider shows up, either way, in whatever form, it's just time to slow down and read the pattern. Once you acknowledge that spider is here, it is in fact here, and there is something to learn, we can work with her as like a guide through maybe transformation or creative blocks that we get. Spider doesn't just care for beauty, like she creates for survival. Her web is her life. And when our own creations maybe stall or unravel, I think the spider is going to appear to kind of help us find the next thread. So in times of creative blocks, if you guys get that, she can just kind of remind us that it's okay to step back, to observe and wait, that we don't have to rush inspiration. Sometimes rest is part of the weave. Maybe she's showing up during a personal transformation. Definitely what I'm going through right now with everything that happened in the month of May and is starting off for the month of June. It's just crazy. But spider teaches us how to shed old skins, right? Just like she repairs or abandons webs that no longer serve, I think we too must learn to release what's broken and start anew. This can be uncomfortable, but spider assures us that reweaving is sacred work. She walks with us through the messy middle, right? The part of becoming where nothing is clear, but everything is changing. She tells us to, trust the web. You don't need to see the full design yet. Just spin the next strand. When spider visits, I think one of the most powerful things you can do is just reflect, right? Light a candle, open your journal, and ask, what web am I weaving with my energy, time, and intention? Is it strong or is it tangled? What am I catching? What energy am I drawing in? And what am I still chasing? Right? Am I the weaver of my own destiny or am I tangled in someone else's thread? Your answers, they could surprise you, right? They may reveal old patterns, some hidden dreams, or maybe the need to clear and begin again. Spider's message is never random. I don't think it is. She comes to us to remind us that our lives are not accidental. They are crafted. Every thought is a strand. Every decision is a stitch. Every moment is a chance to just choose again. My crows are chiming in. I love it when they chime in at just the right moment. I'm going to say that again then, right? They are out there screaming. Every thought is a strand. Every decision is a stitch. And every moment is a chance to choose again. Okay, thank you, crows. Thank you. So the next time spider shows up, I say don't swat her away. Bow your head, right? Whisper your thanks and listen. Something sacred is trying to speak through her threads. Since we are actually working on this very energy right now over on Patreon, if you head over there, you can see the card that was drawn and, what Kim Cron's message is. Actually, you know what? Hold on. I'm going to pull it. I'm going to read her message real fast so you know exactly what we're doing over there. Let's see. This card is from her The Wild Unknown Animal Spirit deck, and she writes, quote, "The tarantula represents a moment when a great decision must be made. It involves prioritizing your life's deeper purpose or dharma. A habit or routine from the past is sidetracking you from your dream, yet a voice inside keeps begging you to refocus your attention. In order to find true happiness, you must choose dharma. Until you do, satisfaction will be fleeting. The tarantula hovers, patient and calm, like an old friend that knows your inner soul. It already knows you'll choose wisely." End quote. All right, well, I have been working really hard with this energy, you guys. I do have the big grimoire insert pages coming out this week, and I'm working on our energy for and with this tarantula spirit right now. It's also the element of fire, so that is our focus for the whole month of June. And it threw me back. It really honestly threw me back when I drew the card. But I'm moving past it. I'm working with it. So if this is your vibe and you want more, I really do invite you to join us over on Patreon, and you can pull the worksheets, the grimoire pages, and the spells for each of our months. But okay, back to the energy of the spider spirit. Let's talk about some ways that we can actually work with the spider energy in our day in and day out lives, like our practices. How can we, as witches, live with the magic of the spinner, the maker, the mystic? Well, I say to work with the spider energy is to enter kind of a quiet kind of magic, right? The kind that hums in the background, like thread pulled tight between intention and form. Spider isn't loud or flashy, right? Her power is subtle, it's patient, and really deliberate. She reminds us that our magic doesn't always need to shout. Sometimes it just needs to be woven. Spider energy lives in the rhythm of repetition, right? The turning of the wheel, the pause between the pull of the thread. When we invite her into our daily lives and magical practices, we begin to move more like she does, with intention, with instinct, and with care. So I have 2 suggestions that you can add into your working with the spider spirit, something for our altars, and then a spell that, that we can use. For our altars, this would be good if you're looking to create like a sacred space devoted to her energy. It's going to be a corner of the shelf, a little small tabletop, or even like a web-like arrangement in nature. Think about items like, silk thread or natural twine, something that represents the invisible lines of fate and connection. Think about maybe using bones or tiny animal charms, right? Something that's going to remind us about the death, rebirth, and the sacred cycle. Grab some weaving tools too, right? Like needles, spindles, even maybe like a small loom. Something that symbolizes intentional creation. And then we've got candle magic, right? Use a black, silver, or maybe like a deep red candle to represent spiders' mystery and power. Dress it with herbs like mugwort, rosemary, a vervain if you've got it. And then as you light the candle, say something. Spider of the hidden thread, teach me what the fates have said. Weave me closer to my truth. With every strand, renew my roots. And then for the spell, we can do a spider spell for clarity and manifestation. This would be good, when you're ready to manifest with purpose, like clear away mental fog, or even begin weaving a new path. For this one, you're going to need a strand of red thread representing your intentions. You're going to need a candle. Go back to your color magic again, but black for shadow work, maybe white for clarity, or orange for creativity. You need a little piece of paper and pen, and then a pinch of cinnamon or even a bay leaf, something for success and movement. For the spell, write down what you are ready to manifest or receive, right? Like the candle, calling in spider's presence. Take the red thread and slowly wrap it around the paper, speaking, something like, thread by thread, I weave this dream. Spider spirit, guide the seam. Let what's true and clear unfold in sacred pattern, brave and bold. Sprinkle the cinnamon or bay leaf onto the bundle and then let the candle burn down safely. Or honestly, you could even snuff it out and then relight it each day until complete. Once you're done, though, bury the bundle in the soil or keep it on your altar until the web you seek begins to appear. We can also always do some sacred crafting. I think this is very spider energy-ish. Do some type of spell work with like your hands, right? Spider teaches that the act of creation is the magic. So whether it's a ritual or a little mundane moment, you can call in her energy through spinning or weaving, right? You are turning fibers into thread with a spindle or a wheel while whispering intentions. You can do it through knitting or crocheting, weaving, prayers, mantras, or spells into each stitch. You can do it when you're sewing or doing embroidery work, like choose symbols, sigils, or words to stitch onto cloth with magical purpose. And you can do it when you're writing or journaling. Right? Each word is a strand of thought. So let your pen be a spindle and let your journal be a web. So when working with the spider spirit, approach your crafting as a form of moving meditation, an act of devotion to the pattern behind all things. What you make doesn't need to be perfect, but it does need to be true. The spider energy reminds us that we are always creating, whether we mean to or not. Every thought is a thread. Every habit is a pattern. Every act of devotion is a stitch in the grand tapestry of your life. Now, I don't want to go back to the fear of spiders and be sidetracked or revisit the heebie-jeebie shivers, but let's talk about the shadow of spider spirit and using it when facing fears and just like trusting the web. What happens when we're sitting in the corners and seeing in the dark? Not all webs are tidy. Not all threads are visible. And when spider spirit enters through like the shadow door, I think she asks us not to create, but maybe confront. Spider is just not the sacred weaver of beauty and vision. She is also the watcher in the corner, the one who sees what others avoid, the one who moves through stillness, the one who lives in the forgotten places of the psyche. And so when she walks with us, we have an opportunity, right, to ask, what have I trapped in my own web? We can use the spider energy as a mirror for fear, anxiety, and control. So many people fear spiders. And again, not because they move in strange ways or hide in dark places. The truth is, spiders reflect back to us the parts of ourselves that we've spun, maybe like too tightly or avoided altogether. With the fear, spiders' stillness makes us uncomfortable because, it can hold a kind of quiet power. When we are afraid of stillness, we often fear what will rise in the silence. With anxiety, her webs are fragile, yet strong, intricate, yet invisible. We fear what we can't see, what we might walk into. And this anxiety in like a magical form, the anticipation of getting caught in something that we can't escape or understand. And for control, spider, gosh, she doesn't chase, right? She builds, she waits, she trusts. Her medicine challenges us to stop clinging, right? When we feel the need to micromanage our lives, spider could appear to say, hey, you are not the only weaver here. The universe has its own threads too. Now, spider teaches us to, or can, can teach us to let go of obsessing patterns, mental loops, perfectionism, or even like a fear of failure. Her presence may feel a little unnerving because she is a sacred disruptor. She crawls through the cracks that we try to ignore and offers us a mirror. Here is your web. Do you love what you see? All right, what about trusting the web of life? That's the deeper lesson, isn't it? It is a lesson that she can offer, though, just to trust the web, like even when you can't see the whole design. We live in a culture that worships control, clarity, and really fast answers. Spider defies all of that. She spins without seeing the full picture. She doesn't demand guarantees. She places her thread, she anchors it, and she continues. So with that in mind, Spider can invite us into that, same faith to trust that our energy is shaping something, right? Even if it's not visible yet. To believe that there is a pattern forming behind the scenes. And to know that sometimes, letting go is the next sacred stitch. When things fall apart, when webs tear, when paths collapse, the spider doesn't panic. She simply begins again. And we too must learn to begin again with care, with reverence, and sometimes with surrender. But how? How do we do that? That's a tough one, right? Well, how about an exercise, one that we can do together? This is a ritual for those moments when anxiety, control, or fear have tangled your path, and you are ready to clear the web. You will need a small piece of paper and pen, a black candle, or actually grab white if you need maybe like a little gentler energy. You need a strand of string or thread, preferably if you have choices, black, silver, or red, and then a bowl of water. And that's going to be just to kind of like represent the web of life. Prepare your space, light your candle, and take a few deep breaths to call in the spider spirit with gratitude and respect. On the piece of paper, write the fear, the thought pattern, the illusion that you are ready to release. Wrap the paper in the thread or string and say something aloud like, "Spider, keeper of shadow and thread, take this fear I now have shed. Into the web I place this pain, so I may rise and weave again." Drop the bundle into the bowl of water and watch it float, or maybe watch it sink. Let it go. Imagine it dissolving into the greater web of life. Then snuff out your candle. Give thanks to the spider for holding what you no longer wish to carry. And close your ritual with a little affirmation like, I trust the web. I trust the pattern. I trust the part I cannot see. You can repeat this little ritual anytime you feel tangled by fear, by doubt, or maybe the need to control everything. Over time, it becomes a sacred practice of surrender. Spider's shadow is not something to fear. I think it's something to face. She's here for a reason. I pulled the card for a reason. She reminds us that we are not just spellcasters and makers. Like, we are unmakers too, right? We unweave, we cut, we clear space. And only then can something new be spun. So if you find her in the shadows, don't run. Sit beside her. Let her show you the threads that you are ready to release. Because on the other side of fear is freedom. And on the other side of the web is your next becoming. Okay, my friends, as we close our circle today, I really hope you carry the whispers of the spider spirit with you. Like quiet, wise, patient, and profound. She is the ancient weaver who reminds us that we are always creating, right? We might not be conscious of it, but with every choice, every thought, every thread of intention, we are spinning our own webs. Spider energy is both shadow and light. She teaches us that fear can be faced, that creation can be sacred, and that destiny is not necessarily a fixed road, right? But a design that we get to shape strand by strand. So this week, I encourage you to look for her signs, right? A spider crossing your path, a web glinting in the sunlight, a dream that lingers in your bones. When she shows up, pause. Listen. What is she trying to show you? Ask yourself, what am I being invited to create or to release? And if something in this episode stirred your own spider story, maybe a magical encounter, a dream, or maybe you had a creative unraveling, I would love to hear it. Share it with me, tag me, send me your signs. We are not weaving alone. And again, if you feel called to go a little deeper into spider's energy, I definitely invite you over to our Patreon family, where this month's magic includes a spider spirit spell for clarity and manifestation, a beautifully crafted sigil in order to kind of anchor your web weaving work, a worksheet full of journal prompts, rituals, and the spider wisdom, and more tools just to support your shadow work and sacred creativity. Together, we got this. We'll keep weaving softly, boldly, and intentionally, because the spider reminds us that the thread is always in your hands. And all that's left to do is spin. All right, well, I do have a poem for us today and the moon update for this week. I will go grab those notes and I will be right back. All right, let's start with the poem first, and it is just for today's topic. And it goes. She sits in the hush where the candlelight bends, a whisper of silk where the spiral begins. 8 legs like compass points, steady and still, she weaves with purpose, a whisper, a will. Her web is a grimoire strung thread by thread, each strand a spell, each knot something said. She spins in the shadows where secrets are kept, where fears are unraveled and promises slept. A priestess of patience, of power unseen, of cycles of shadow, of what lies in between. She conjures in silence, she dances alone, a sovereign creator in temple and bone. The threads are her language, her craft and her creed. She knows what you want, and she knows what you need. A spinner of visions, of fate and desire, she binds what is broken and bursts it through fire. So heed her, O witch, when she visits your door, a sign in the rafters, a thread on the floor. She is not fear, but the spell you forgot, the one that was woven before you were taught. For deep in her center, the stillness she keeps, are dreams that were caught while the world was asleep. She calls you to weave now, to cast and to claim. The web is your magic. The thread is your name. All right, our moon update. Well, interestingly enough, we are having a first quarter moon right now on Wednesday, the 4th of June. The first quarter moon is in fact a time of action, of momentum and overcoming resistance. It follows the new moon's seed planting process and asks us, hey, now that you've set your intention, what are you going to do about it? This is kind of like a spider's moment of movement, right? Just as she spins her web strand by strand, we too begin actively weaving the reality we dreamed under the new moon. This phase invites us to begin building the structure that will hold our intentions, right? To make decisions, take steps, and stretch through any fear or self-doubt. So let's keep with our spider spirit energy here as we talk about the first quarter moon. Think about maybe like web weaving and how it is very equal to structure in the moon, right? Spider doesn't rush. She builds with purpose. And the first quarter moon supports that same energy, turning vision into form through steady and sacred action. Think about, facing resistance and how that is really close to shadow work, right? First quarter moon often brings a little tension. It's a challenge that might come up or block that must be addressed to keep growing. Well, Spider, as a shadow guide, teaches us how to move through fear without abandoning the weave. She helps us pause, assess, and re-anchor our threads. And we can think about creative force and how it is equal to magic in progress, right? The spider is the embodiment of divine creation in motion. And the first quarter moon is when magic begins to take shape, right? If the new moon was the dream, then this is the draft, the sketch, the spin of the wheel. All right, so what can we do right now, like during this first quarter moon? How about we weave a little web of action, shall we? Let's write out 3 small actions that we can take this week to move our intentions forward. On a piece of paper, draw like a small little spider web. At the center, write your core intention. On the outer edges, write 3 actions like strands that are anchoring the center. Each time you complete one, draw a new connecting thread and watch your web grow with every aligned step. I like that as a little weekly check-in tool too. It can be especially nice when paired with candle magic or that spider altar that we just talked about. So while spider is often associated with, stillness and waiting, she is also deeply aligned with this phase of strategic action and sacred building. The first quarter moon calls us to, move like her, wisely, patiently, and powerfully. Okay, my witchy friends, my witchy family, thank you for joining me today. I hope you enjoy the rest of your week and you have an amazing weekend. I will talk with you next week. Thank you for joining me today at Witchy Work Wishes, a place to find your weekly inspiration for bringing your personal witchcraft practice into your business, work, and office. For more information and additional content, please visit me online at witchyworkwishes.com. If you want to send me a personal note, please email me at info@witchyworkwishes.com. And of course, you can follow me on Instagram and Facebook. Just search for Witchy Work Wishes.